Hello, my beautiful friends. We're getting ready to celebrate Samhain. It's Samhain Eve. Now, one thing that surprises a lot of people who know me is that I don't actually really get into American Halloween because I do honor the festival of Samhain, the Celtic festival. You might wonder, like, what's the difference between the two? Well, like a lot of holidays, Christmas, Easter, there's a lot appropriated from the Celtic tradition, and Halloween, American Halloween, is very, very similar to that. So we have trick or treating, and in the Celtic world, we would go guising. And the purpose wasn't necessarily to scare away evil spirits, it was to disguise yourself so that spirits couldn't find you. Because what we believe about Samhain is that it's the thinnest veil between the living and the dead, and so that spirits from the other world would come over, some good, some not. So you wanted to guise yourself so that spirits who didn't know you didn't try to take you back over to the other side. So you would just try to dress up so that you wouldn't be noticed, right? Sort of the horror thing and like the scary costume thing, like that's totally an Americanization. And the guising, the trick-or-treating, the poor children would go from house to house and get donations of food, and that's how kind of trick or treating started. You would give soul cakes, so these little cakes that have a cross in them, and the poor would, children would go around and get these little soul cakes, and then they would store them over the winter. So Samhain is also our New Year, and like all of our festivals, it's not just one day. It starts on the 31st, but it actually carries through 7 days, and it's all of our festivals have some kind of light. So there's the light of Bridget. So you would have your fire in your home. You would extinguish your fire because remember, this is New Year, so you'd want to start a new fire for the new year. So you'd clean out your fire. You would go to the town fire, which would be lit, and then you would take home a bit of that fire to start your fire in your home. That reminder of community and connection. Well, how did you do that? Well, you're walking, 3 miles in the wind. How do you do that? So they would carve out turnips, neeps, turnips. They would carve those out, and then they would put the little light inside it, and then carry it home. And that's where the practice of jack-o'-lanterns come in, because the kids would decorate them and things like that. So in our house, we carve both pumpkins and turnips, and turnips are infinitely scarier looking. But when settlers came over here to the colonies, we didn't have turnips. We do now, but we didn't really have turnips. But we had plenty of pumpkins, and so they used pumpkins. So Samhain is our new year. It is the beginning of the Celtic wheel and the beginning of our new year. And it is a time that's thin between this world and the other world. And it's a time where we remember our ancestors. So tomorrow on the 31st, there's trick or treat here in my town. And of course, we participate. We have all kinds of things that you can choose: chips, you can choose candy, you can choose a potato, and if you're an adult that I know, you might get a wee nip of whiskey too. So we do celebrate that part of it. But we also have a dumb supper where we set a place for all of our ancestors and all of our loved ones who have passed. We don't do a quiet dumb supper. Sometimes a dumb supper, nobody talks and you eat in silence, in reverence. My family was very chatty. They wouldn't have liked that at all. So we have a table place set for them, and then we tell funny stories and remember our loved ones in the best ways, right? Because we believe that they're alive on the other side, in spirit. So all Saints Days, All Souls Days in the church, those come from those Celtic traditions of remembering those who have passed, and All Souls are all the people who've passed away, your friends and everything, and then All Saints are all the faithful people who've passed, and so we will do that. So I'd love to know what your traditions are. My kids always tell the story that I never let them dress up as anything scary until they were 18. That is true. They had to be cute things like, pandas and turtles and stuff like that, because I don't think that we should celebrate evil in this world. My sons love horror stuff, so the one boy loves horror movies, and he made me go see Shelby Oaks last night. 6 out of 10 probably. It wasn't bad, but it had a lot of plot holes that needed to be fixed. And then today he made me watch, after I was done working, he made me watch Freddy versus Jason. I've seen all the Jason movies. I refused to watch Nightmare on Elm Street. I saw the first one when it first came out, and I don't like stuff like that. I don't like horror movies anyway. I don't like anything horror related, honestly. I don't do skulls. I don't do, I don't do gore, so I'm not a huge fan of horror stories. Um, at all. And then my other son loves haunted houses, and I'm not a big fan of those either. I actually worked at one in college. I worked at a haunted hayride, but I'm not a huge fan of that stuff either. I don't personally believe that we should celebrate evil. We shouldn't give it any more love and attention than it deserves. And guising, wasn't necessarily scaring the spirits. It was just making sure that the bad spirits, couldn't figure out who you were and take you with them over to the other side. But your loved ones would know who you are, so they would find you. So anyway, I would love to know in the comments, what are you going to be for Halloween? Do you celebrate Halloween and Samhain? Are those the same thing to you? I would love to know other traditions. If you do a dumb supper, if you do it quiet, or if you talk, or any other traditions. I remember each person. I've written them down, and then tomorrow I will remember each one. I try to remember. Like the older you get, the more people get added to that list, so the list gets longer and longer. I got all the family down, but it's remembering all the friends who have passed. I keep remembering them and then running to my book to write them in, because everybody should be remembered once a year. And I know a lot of people who didn't know anybody, they didn't have children, they weren't married or partnered in this life. And so I try to at least remember them. And then I actually keep ornaments up in my house all year long to remember people, so that people aren't forgotten, because that's how we remember people, by remembering them, right, by putting them into our cultural memory, our personal memories. That's how we carry people on after they pass. So I am wishing you all the best of light and love. Would love to hear what you're doing for Samhain, Halloween, in the comments below. And I am wishing you the very best in light and love. Be well. Blessed Samhain. Bye bye.